wanted since many months to craft a full fashion cinematic project, but I didn't add enough similar content in my portfolio to work with a brand. So this is the reason why we actually shot this fashion project. So let's break it down and see how we pull it off. It needed to take place in a really big studio to have enough room for having a desk, a really big top light, and a side light. The script was straight to the point. I wanted to show a woman working in a really cold and impersonal environment. Everything in grey, black or white. Only a red phone on the desk, and when it starts ringing, the fashion show really kicking. Like a side parallel world, getting the woman less and less strict, totally free, doing some back and forth between the two worlds until the climax, where she just throwing everything and left the cold office. Between the two different moods, I wanted to keep the same type of lighting, but really craft the differences with the tripod and the handle work. So gear-wise, we had an FX3, paired with a tiny Simera C and the Axon M7 Pro as monitor, with a transmitter for another external monitors, giving the crew, the makeup artist and the stylist the possibility to see what was happening on set. And to complete the camera setup, we paired it with a LiDAR, because we didn't add any focus puller on this one. And as for the dolly and the tripod, I went with the Eldocron product. We will speak later about that. So we started with the lighting setup. Like I told you, I wanted to keep almost the same lighting setup for the whole video. This is why I decided to go in this large studio. It gave us the ability to craft a giant top light with an Aputure Nova P600 directly through a large frame, and a negative skirt around it to control the spill. This light really gave us a nice ambient light across all the desk, actress and accessories. On the side, we placed our key light, an Aputure 600C, on a really large softbox and grid, creating a really soft light on the face and again the desk. On the shadow side, we used a floppy to bring back some contrast and shadows, and depending the scenes, we were simply moving it closer or further from here. This setup was perfect to isolate air from the white background and avoid too much spill, and it gave us the ability to craft as much contrast and shadow I wanted. Action. We were able to start shooting all the death sequence from the intro to the climax mainly on the Eldocron dolly and on a tripod. I only wanted to have mostly static shots or really linear camera moves to blend perfectly with a really strict and cold mode. Non, vraiment tu le regardes avant.
Ah, je regarde
ouais.
Et ensuite je prends.
Ensuite tu vas récupérer. Ouais.
Mais attends, je l'amène à moi et je suis censée regarder.
Everything was really smooth to shoot without any problems. That's what I love about shooting inside. Once you have crafted your light and set, everything is rolling perfectly. And on a minimal setup like that, it's really hard to encounter any problems. Between the linear and static shots, I had planned to show the hard working and to amplify it. So I decided to add some inserts with some handle camera movement. Blending handle shots with static shots is, like I always telling you, giving you way more impact on the frames and increasing the frenetic events that happen on screen. And for the final death shots, everything was going apocalypse, with paper flying everywhere, her outfit completely open and unraveled, with untied hair and making the desk really messy. To make the paper flying, we used a leaf blower with a ton of paper. It was definitely selling the effect. And all of that combined with the Eldocron jibs for a smooth movement and tilt. It's definitely one of my favorite shots from the project because it was a total mess to make and you can see it through the screen. Parfait. Et là, débâche les jambes. Parfait, coupé. The last corporate shot was her sitting on the chair in the middle of the studio, creating the isolation from the rest. This is why I used a dolly on an orbital path curve. When we wrapped all the death shots, we were diving into the more fashion sequences. No set design, just a white wall, nice wardrobe, cool makeup, and we were set. Here, I didn't really got precise shot lists. Everything was more like a run and gun mindset. And because the talent, Marjorie, is a professional posing coach for photography, she gave us some pretty good frames without giving her really any direction. She really nailed this project. I rarely worked so easily with someone. Anyway, I went fully handle for all the portrait frames. Even if I was seeing static, it still gave us some movement. And the Simera C were really handy for that. The E-mount and compact design really help us switching lenses quickly with the LiDAR. And having lightweight lenses make a huge difference when it comes to staying mobile and reactive on set. Like I told you, I didn't have any shortlist for the portrait frames, so I was just going back and forth with lenses and trying what was fitting the best. And of course, the Simera C have a nice character that fits very well with the kind of cinematic imagery I like to create. One of the things I really love about those lenses is the bokeh and the fall off. It's very smooth, natural, and it gives the image a lot of dimensionality. Even wide open at T15, the rendering stayed clean with good chromatic aberration control, and the way the image fall off toward the edge feels very organic, almost similar to how the human eyes perceive depth. Overall, they strike a real nice balance between cinematic character and modern sharpness. They are just very enjoyable lenses to work with. We kept the same lighting setup for all the portrait shots. I know, again, the same one, but we adapted it with sometimes cutting off the key lights, keeping only the top light, or adding the F32C for some colors. But what really made pop some frames was the use of the handle filters, creating a sort of ghosting effect. It was perfect to show the parallel universe, showing a sort of mental escape, a shift, if I want me to speak like a director. And of course, it was really interesting to use it to craft some nice short clip for transition. I saw a lot of people using those type of filters on Instagram lately, and it gave me the idea to integrate it in this project because it made sense. I found this filter on Amazon for a really cheap price, so I just gave it a try, and I'm quite happy about the results. On this project, I had one post-production effect that I really wanted to try. A cloning pan, including various outfits. In reality, it is really simple to craft it. You just need to do the same camera movements multiple times and positioning the model on the same spots. Like that, in post-production, you just have to mask out the clone, putting them next to each other, and tada! You have a nice clone slide. For this effect, we kept only the top light to make the look darker and more contrasty. And for the last shots, it was a completely different mood, way colorful. We used a red and brown carpets, a blue backdrop, and a practical light with an aperture bulb. On the side, we added the F32C with a grid, and we shot few frames like that. It is just few frames in the final video, but it gives an interesting color contrast between all those cold ones. I'm pretty happy about the result, and it gives me envy to shoot more fashion film in the future. I tend to be really inspired by this type of content lately, mixing artistic film and really visual frames. So I hope you really like this short breakdown. If so, don't hesitate to give me a follow, and if you have any question, drop a comment below. I will do my best to answer it. And in the meanwhile, guys, keep reacting. Ciao.